Greetings and welcome to this lesson in which we are going to discuss management skills. Management skills are essential abilities that allow individuals to plan, organize, coordinate, and control office activities and resources. For administrative assistants, mastering these skills ensures that office operations run smoothly, tasks are completed to high standards, and workplace productivity is maximized. In this lesson, we will discuss 5 key management areas that every administrative assistant should develop: office management, file management, budget and expense management, stress management, and event planning. Each section will provide practical techniques for polishing these skills and applying them in a professional setting. Office management. Office management involves the efficient planning and organization of office tasks and resources. An organized office ensures smooth daily operations, reducing delays and enabling staff to focus on high priority tasks. Here are some techniques for you to develop this skill. The first technique is for you to implement a standard operating procedure. Standard operating procedures are step-by-step guides that provide consistency in completing recurring tasks. This permits you to have a consistent way of doing things. If not, you will have to start from scratch all the time. Starting from scratch, which means starting all over all the time, it will be more difficult. So any task that is repetitive, any task that recurs, that comes on and that you do it more than once, have a particular way of doing that task. And we call that a standard operating procedure. Then you need to use document templates. Document templates in its simple form simply means reusing previous documents to create future documents. If you have a report, a third quarter report or a fourth quarter report or a second quarter report, it would be good that your reports should look alike. So your second quarter report should help you prepare your third quarter report, should help you prepare your fourth quarter report. It means that you have a quarter report template. So a report template will permit you in such a way that at any time you have a report to prepare, you just go to that report, you edit it, you modify it, you adjust some aspects of the report to fit in the new situation. So that is known as a document template. If you prepare letters, presentations, it'll be good to reuse letters or presentations. This will facilitate your task. It will make you to go faster. It will enable you to do things that are similar, that look alike. And this ensures consistency and ease your task completion. You also have to set up a supply monitoring system. This is a skill, a technique. This is a technique that you can use to ensure that you never lack office supplies. Everything you need in your office will always be available in an appropriate quantity. Not too much, not too small. Let me take, for example, in all modern offices today, we use papers. You will agree with me that it will not be proper that your boss asks you to print and it is at that time that you're realizing that paper is finished. Or you have to print, for example, and it is at that time that you're realizing that ink is finished. You need to have a monitoring system that enables you to know that your paper needs to be replenished. You need to add some papers. You need to buy ink such that you are able to buy when it is not yet finished. Not like you're buying too much. It's not like you're buying 10 reams of paper when actually one will be enough. No. It is just that you maintain a given threshold depending on the demands of your workplace. Then you also need to review, we call it to conduct regular workflow evaluations. You need to regularly review office processes. This enables you to identify inefficiencies and introduce necessary improvements. A very simple example is for you to imagine a situation where in preparing your financial reports, you are still using calculators. It's outdated. What are calculators being used for again? You should use Excel. Excel will be faster and more accurate. So you try to set up a worksheet that will enable you to perform such calculations. So you need to review your workflow operations. And then finally, you need to develop problem solving and decision-making skills. This is very important for administrative assistants because as an assistant, you're supposed to be proactive in resolving issues and making sound decisions, especially under pressure, because this will ensure that office operations run smoothly. It is also important because you are always the first point of contact when your boss needs help. You are like an advisor to your boss. You're like a consultant to your boss. At any time when he needs help, you are the first person he will turn to. You need to equip yourself to be ready when he needs help from you. And therefore, you're supposed to have the mindset of seeing a bottle as half full instead of half empty. You should look for solutions instead of seeing problems. You should look for opportunities instead of seeing difficulties. That is a problem-solving mindset. You should have this type of a mindset. The next skill that you need to develop is to manage files. As an administrative assistant, you're supposed to have a systematic way of organizing your files, both physical and digital files. In our offices, you will agree that you're going to deal with many files and documents. Processes will be documented, decisions documented, instructions documented, and you have to keep all of this. You will ensure that at any time when any of these documents are needed, you should be able to provide it, to access the documents. So this is an important skill, and you should be able to develop this skill. And what are the techniques that you can use to develop the file management skill? The first one is for you to practice organizing physical files. You can organize physical files by putting them in folders or filing cabinets. Always ensure that they have clear categories and they're clearly labeled. So whatever you have in your office, whatever is available at your workplace, make sure you are using them well. Just simple folders. You can use them to organize your files without any problem. So if you have filing cabinets or other means of organizing your files, you'll have to use them. Then periodically review files. You need to check your files to remove outdated documents. There are some documents that are no longer useful. You want to remove them and also have a schedule for shredding irrelevant files. So the files that are no longer relevant, you want to shred, you want to destroy them. It is true that personally, I do not destroy documents, no matter how irrelevant they are. But there come a time when you have to destroy documents. So you need to schedule a period during which you review your files and destroy irrelevant ones. You want to maintain a master list, because in managing files, there are three very important things that should always come to your mind. The first is to keep the files securely. That means the files should be securely kept. The second is to be able to access the files when needed. It means you should be able to access the files when you need to access the files. So these files are for you to keep. These files are also for you to access specific files when needed. And these days, you are therefore supposed to put in place techniques that you'll be able to store the files in a way that you can easily access the files. So keeping is a problem. Accessing is a more bigger problem. And the third thing you need to be able to do with your files is to know which ones to shred, to destroy, which ones are no longer necessary. All right? So, as an administrative assistant, you should have the ability to keep, you know which ones to keep, have the ability to access the ones you have kept, and have the ability to know which ones to destroy, which means no longer necessary. In these three aspects that as an administrative assistant you need to be able to do, you realize that the most important is your ability to access the files that you have kept when needed. And in our modern world, we must be able to use the computer in everything we do. So keeping physical files, if you create a master list using Excel, where you give a list of all the files there, it has the names of all the files, and it will enable you such that when you want to look for a file, you can just look for the location in your master list, and you know where the file is located. You now easily access the physical file. At times, you can have a master list that contains the digital files. Yes, you scan the physical file. Before keeping the physical file, you have a scanned copy of that physical file that you now store in its digital form, such that if you need that file, you can easily access the digital file, though the physical file is still there. The digital file will still serve the purpose. So I hope you understand this. So you also have to use version control. Version control has to do with, there are situations where you have to create a document. Let's say you're preparing a report. That report will go through a lot of stages, adjustments, modifications. It will be good to have all the versions. You may have the first version that will go through. Maybe you will have been endorsed and signed by your boss. And at the time when the report is submitted, an error is identified that needs to be adjusted. That will be the second version now. Don't replace the first version, because it's very, very, very important. Your boss may want to call you one day and ask for that first version, maybe for one reason or another, to remember why he had to do the adjustment that is found in the second version. The same thing might happen and you have the third version. The same thing and you have the fourth version. So you have all these versions in your machine. So you should be able to label documents with version numbers or dates. You may give a particular date to it, or you give a version number to it. In my case, what I do is I just add a V1, V2, V3, V4 to the file names. So I may have third quarter report V1, third quarter report V2. I will know that that is how the document was being treated. And you should be able to store your documents in folders using the computer, and ensure that you have also some logical naming conventions in the computer that you can easily access your files. The third skill that an administrative assistant is supposed to have is known as budget and expense management. Budget and expense management involves monitoring and controlling financial resources to keep office operations within the budget. This avoids overspending, but at the same time ensures that necessary resources are available. This is one of the areas where many people want to run away from. This is a skill that a lot of people want to avoid. It has to do with, it involves calculations. It involves manipulating numbers and figures. You want to be comfortable with this because we said there are essential skills that every administrative assistant must have. So it is essential for you to have the skills to manipulate numbers. You need to be comfortable with the numbers. You need to be comfortable with the numbers. And there are some techniques, some very basic techniques that you can use to have this essential skill. The first is for you to understand the budget of your office. Where does money comes from? Where does it go through to? And how are the justifications done? In administrative work, paper is more important than any other thing. Justifications are more important than even the activities themselves. So you have to understand where money comes from and where it goes to, and how that transaction is justified. It means you have to justify where how much came from, and also justify where how much went to. So you need to familiarize yourself with the overall budget of the office and also ensure that everything follows the guideline put in place. If, for example, you work in an office where you generate income by selling produce, you agree, therefore, that if you generate a 10,000 francs from selling a particular produce, there's supposed to be a receipt that should be countersigned. So you need to master this to familiarize yourself with all of this. Then you also need to use an expense tracking software. You need to use a software that will permit you to manage these processes and transactions. These days, it is no longer necessary to get into somebody's office and see the person punching calculators up and down. No. A spreadsheet is simple enough for you to use and is available at your disposal. So everybody can use a spreadsheet without difficulties. So you need to learn how to use a spreadsheet and monitor your budget. There are times that you need a specialized feature of the spreadsheet that you do not master how to use. You must not know how to use a spreadsheet in doing everything. You can simply hire someone or delegate that task to someone else. They design a system for you to manage your budget, and all you do is use it. Designing may be the job of some other person. You have to monitor the use of your supplies. So you need to keep track of office supply levels to avoid overstocking. Just imagine a situation where in your office, a ream of paper is enough for a month, and you go ahead and buy 10 reams of paper. It's not necessary. So you want to know what is enough such that you buy just what is enough. Then develop cost-saving strategies. One of the most common cost-saving strategies that I use is to limit the errors that I make while drafting documents. There are people that before they draft one document, they would have used at least 100 sheets of paper. What are you wasting? You're wasting paper, you're wasting ink, you're wasting time, you're wasting energy. Because printing those papers, you're using a printer, and your printers consume electricity and energy, and that is bill that you're going to pay. You're using your ink. Remember that the inks that you have in your printers have a number of pages that it is supposed to print and get finished. So the number of test pages that you are printing, that's how your ink is going. Also remember that a ream of paper is made up of 500 sheets of paper. So if you use 100 sheets of paper to draft one document, it means that one ream of paper will only be enough to draft 5 different documents. It's not cost effective. Whereas 3 sheets of paper can be enough for you to draft a document. It means you do the first draft, your boss controls, gives his corrections, you come back, you do your adjustments, and by the time you're going with the second draft, it's already almost okay, in which he only check and maybe make adjustments on the format and on the layout. And the third print will be the final print. It is true, I agree, that your boss is supposed to give you a clear orientation on what is expected on any document before you start drafting. And when they don't provide this information, it disturbs, it hinders you from knowing what to include and what not to include. And this as well will affect the drafting process. But do your own first. Yes. Finally, you need to keep accurate financial records. We said you need to familiarize yourself with where money comes from and where money goes to. Know what is used to justify these processes. It is not only to know, it is not only to have these receipts, but also to keep these receipts in such a way that you can access them at any time. So you need to be able to keep accurate financial records. Your financial records should also be consistent. The next skill that we should be able to develop is stress management. Stress management is the ability to identify and handle stress effectively, preventing it from negatively impacting productivity and well-being. There are some people who go to the hospital and there's only one problem they have: stress. And unfortunately, there's no drug in the hospital for that. You go, they'll give you what, I don't know, just to delay, just to like calm you down for the moment. Because what you have to do is to be able to manage that stress. You need to develop techniques. You need to implement techniques that will enable you to develop stress management skills. This is what you are supposed to do. This is what you should do. And this is what will help you. Instead of going to the hospital and buying drugs, and then you come back and the stressors are there waiting for you. They'll stress you to hell. So, the first technique is for you to always be organized. Nothing should take you by surprise. Have an idea of everything that can happen to you. When it comes, you already knew it will come. You already know how to handle it, and you are ready to handle it. So, always be organized, and you maintain a clutter-free workspace. This minimizes mental stress and also enhance focus. Take regular breaks. Even your computer needs rest. What more of you? You need more rest. So take regular short breaks. In our time management, we spoke of the Pomodoro techniques. That says you should work for 25 minutes and take a break for 5 minutes. Work for 25 minutes and take a break for 5 minutes. These short breaks throughout the day improves mental clarity and reduces stress. Simple activities such as just stretching yourself, Drinking some water, taking a walk can help reset your mind. And this is going to help you in managing stress. Also have realistic goals. Back again to our time management, back to our time optimization skills and the techniques. We spoke of the Pomodoro technique. We said, break down your task into 25-minute work sessions. You can do this with everything you have. No matter what you want to do, no matter what you are doing, make sure you break them down into small, manageable chunks of tasks that can be completed in 25 minutes. This, you can call them realistic goals. Because when you have a report that you need to prepare that will take 3 hours, what your mind is seeing is that 3 hours. And you keep on beating around, procrastinating, delaying, thinking that there will be a right time when you can block 3 hours and do it. That time may never come. But if you break the report down, as we discussed in our Pomodoro technique, you break it down into 25 minutes work sessions, you will realize that it will be easier for you to manage it. It will be easier for you to have 25 minutes to do something when you know that you will reward yourself with a break of 5 minutes. After you reward yourself with a break of 5 minutes, you come back into another 25 minutes work session. You reward yourself again with another 5 minutes. Before you know it, you are finished drafting the report. But if you're waiting to complete that big task all in one, it may never come to pass. So you're advised to break large tasks into smaller ones. Learn to say no. It's not everything you do. Under time optimization, we discuss a whole lot there. We spoke of your ability to prioritize tasks, to know which one to do and which one not to do. And that is quite okay. Yeah, that's quite okay. It is not how many tasks you do that matters, but it is the quality of the task that you do that matters. So, we discussed of all of this, and we said the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, which says that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Learn how to identify the 20% of tasks that will be able to give you 80% results. So learn to say no to 80% of the things that will not be so valuable to you. And we said you use urgency and importance to determine what to focus on. Let me take, for example, browsing on social media is a task. It's necessary. It's urgent, but it's not too important. You can say no to that. Presently, I'm doing a recording. My phone is on silence because I don't want distractions. Does it mean WhatsApp messages, social media feeds are not important? No, they are important. But I've said no to it now. Immediately after this video recording, I'm going to go back to it and check the feeds and see which messages to respond to and which one not to respond to. So you need to learn how to say no. When it's time to sleep, some people sleep with their phones on. And by the time you start sleeping, the things start ringing. Mine is off when I'm sleeping. People always say, what if an emergency comes up? I say, if that emergency cannot wait until when I wake up, then the emergency can go away. Learn to say no. You must not do everything in life. Learn to know what to do at what time. It's very necessary. And finally, exercise regularly. Always exercise regularly. Regular physical activity alleviate stress because we are told that physical activities release endorphins, and endorphins improve our mood and reduce tension. The fifth skill that we need to develop is known as event planning. Event planning involves organizing and managing events such as meetings, conferences, or social gatherings. Administrative assistants are often tasked with coordinating office events, ensuring that every aspect is covered, from logistics to budgeting. To do this successfully, you need to be able to visualize the entire event from start to finish. And here are some techniques that you can use. You're supposed to have a detailed checklist. So break the event down into actionable items. These items should be time bound, should have what is needed for the particular actionable item to be completed, who will complete the task. So you should ensure that every detail is covered. You should also establish a clear timeline for all the aspects of the event, coordination, preparation, from all the aspects of the event, preparation, execution, and follow-up. So there should be a clear timeline for that. This avoids last-minute rush. Then pay attention to details. Ensure that every detail is covered. Don't ignore any detail. Details such as just seating arrangements can disrupt your event. It can disrupt your event. Parking space can disrupt your event. Imagine you're organizing an event where so many people will be coming with vehicles and you have not arranged parking space. People come and they park in any order. You can understand what that is going to cause in your event. So you're supposed to keep in contact with everybody who's involved, have an idea of what is happening, keep them informed. This will enable you to make adjustments if necessary at any time. And after each event, evaluate how the event went. You will never organize a perfect event. Never. You will never have a perfect event. All the events you will organize will always have shortcomings. Learn from these shortcomings and see how to improve in subsequent events. We are striving for perfection, but perfection does not exist. All right. That brings us to the end of this lesson in which we discussed key management skills for administrative assistants. And this include office management, file management, budget and expense management, stress management, and event planning. Mastering these skills allow administrative assistants to manage office operations, maintain organized systems, handle stress, monitor office budgets, and plan successful events. In our next lesson, we will focus on technical skills, particularly effective computer usage, which will help you further enhance your productivity and modernize office processes.